p.m. ComNet, second Monday at 7 p.m. W5FC. W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? KF5TDS, my name is Billy, and I'll be your net for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. Net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the # break break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? Directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmission. Weekly net operates on 146.880.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, Was Up, space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and our 73 round. Amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So at this time, I will turn the net over to my alternate net control, Tom, KE5ITX, if you will do the check-in honors, please. KF5TDS.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India, WB4MFI, Ted Dallas, low power, short time.
This is November numeral 5, Sierra, Quebec, Alpha, Ron, Dallas, short time, got lots of power.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra. It's Gus, far, far north east Dallas. Lots of time, low power, 5 watts.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha. Low in energy, short in stature. I almost checked in the earlier section. Oh, Whiskey.
W5 BLT Whiskey 5 Bacon, Lettuce, Tomato, Bill, Garland.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo, Lima, Bill, Farmers Ranch.
Kilo India 5, November, Oscar, November, Logan and Garland.
This is Alpha Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
Kilo 5, Golf, Lima, Delta, Randy Rowlett.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brendan DeSoto.
November, Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
Kilo India 5, Sierra Zulu Bravo, Max, in Royce City.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo, Zulu, Whiskey, Jade, no effort.
Five, Juliet Delta Whiskey, John in Norman, Oklahoma.
Lima.
Tom, and welcome to all who have checked in on Skynet. All right, let's get started with general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. If you have an announcement, please come now with your call sign.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Yeah, I'm Tony. Good evening. What announcements do you have for us this evening?
Good evening, Billy. I'd like to remind everybody that although this is an awesome net, it is not the last net of the evening. Tonight at about 10:30-ish, we'll be talking about Battle Beyond the Sun, a strange Francis Ford Coppola movie. If you can follow the plot, you should definitely join us because you can tell us what it was. Most of us didn't understand it. That's the Afterglow movie discussion tonight at 10:30-ish on this repeater. This Monday at 7 p.m. is GeekNet. Is there something you'd like to geek out about? Are you seeing more butterflies and wasps than usual? Have you been watching migrating birds? Or just playing chess with superior skill? Whatever it is that you want to geek out about, even if you've only heard it on the news, it's welcome on the Monday Night GeekNet. That's this coming Monday on this repeater at 7 p.m. local Dallas time. As our bird says, chirp, local bird time. And finally, there is an interesting ham operating activity going on right now. It's very strange because Billy, KF5PDS, Tom, KE5ICX, and me, NT5TM, are all in different countries. It's the CQ Worldwide Worked All Prefixes contest, where every different prefix to a call sign is worth bonus points. So, great chance to get on the air and be a rare one yourself. NT5TM, back to net.
Thank you, Tony. Does anyone else have any announcements? If so, please come now with your call sign. Anything, so I'll go ahead with some announcements of my own. The AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 nets available to residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time. You'll need Echolink installed and you registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website at www.amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston, Texas. Dallas AMSAT Net East, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 on this repeater, 146.880 megahertz, with a PL tone of 110.9. Tom N5HYP is the net control. All are welcome to check in. First Tuesday of the month is the DA night, so there's no AMSAT East on that night. Dallas AMSAT Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.140 hertz, with a PL tone of 10.9 and a positive offset. The ARC hosts several Monday night nets. The first Monday of the month is Ham Fixin's Net. If you want to recipes or share a recipe, or if you have a question or anecdote about food, join us for Ham Fixin's Net. Second Monday of the month is MCOM 101, Emergency Communications. Back for a second helping of Ham Fixin's Net on the third Monday of the month. And as Tony mentioned, on the fourth Monday, GeekNet. All kinds of cool, geeky news, weird and other items are shared. It's a great net, so please join. If there is a fifth Monday of the month, then that net is a surprise net. If we told you what it is, it wouldn't be a surprise. On-air participation is encouraged. And as mentioned, Tuesdays, AMSAT at East 8 is question and answers, info, and news for amateur satellites. And Fridays is CERT City simulation at 8 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, KI5GRH, is usually in control. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday. CERT City, all are welcome. And Saturdays is the Night of Nets, with TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m., and of course Skynet at 9 p.m., and as Tony mentioned, at 10:30 p.m., we have the Afterglow Movie Net. You'll hear more about that in just a moment. On the first and third Sundays, we have the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air. And as always, the ARRL Net, National Traffic System Training Net, is every night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. You're welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. As mentioned, following the 9 p.m. Skynet, around 10:30, we have the Afterglow Movie Net. So if you're new to the net, the way that works is we select a movie to watch. We watch it during the week as our schedule allows, and then we come together for the Afterglow Movie Net to discuss the movie that we watched that week. We discuss everything from plot and characterization to special effects, music, and any other interesting tidbits about that film. So at this time, I'm going to turn the net over to Tom, KE5ICX, if you'll give us tonight's Afterglow info from KF5 PDX. Thank you very much, Tom, and we look forward to tonight's Afterglow Movie Net. So, as mentioned, you can keep up with all DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, w5fc.org. All right, next up is Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. So at this time, call on Chaz, KF5JHA, if you'll give us information about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas.
Thank you, Billy. This is KF5JHA, Chaz. Now, before I get to the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas information, I need to ask Tom to stand up so we can see what's on his T-shirt tonight. I'm monitoring over here on YouTube, and I haven't seen the whole thing. Oh, he switched it. He switched to what the Texas Astronomical Society meeting was last night. That was Dr. Michael Pierce, Department of Physics and Astronomy, University of Wyoming. He talked about his new equipment that he's using called FIRE to detect exoplanets. In other words, planets in other solar systems, and he's hoping to get that up and running very soon. Okay, next slide, please. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, April the 22nd at 7:30 p.m. I believe the meeting will also be held on Zoom. We're probably going to go back to in-person meetings very soon, depending on COVID situation. Dr. Matthew Stiegler of SMU professor, he's a research scientist with the Planetary Science Institute. He'll be the featured speaker on April the 22nd. Don't have his picture yet, but hopefully in the next week or so I'll get that. Task Club members will receive an email link to the Zoom meeting in advance of the meeting. Now, the Saturday night public observing sessions have been placed on hold because of COVID, but the task board members have voted to resume the in-person Saturday night public observing sessions. I'm not sure quite when that's going to happen, but it looks like it's going to happen soon because they've put a thumbs up to it. So one of the reasons why Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights was so that there could be an opportunity for live reports from the TASS public observing sessions. So we look forward to that. If you want to get up-to-date information about all that, go to texasastro.org, and you'll get information about meetings, public observing sessions, how to buy a telescope, how to pick binoculars, all sorts of things like that. Billy, it's all back to you. This is KF5JHA, back to KF5PDS.
Chaz, and this is KF5PDS Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is National Space Society events and activities. So at this time, I will call on Bill and 5BD if you'll give us information about the National Space Society. Did Bill not check in? Okay, we'll come back to that. So I will give just a little bit of information. The advertising, National Space Society of North Texas has an active Facebook page. And just type in National Space Society of North Texas into the search box and request access, and you'll receive meeting reminders and club activities. And if Bill checks in later in the net, just let me know in the chat window, and I'll be sure to call on him so he can give us brings us to the discussion topic this evening. So for this evening's discussion, I want to focus on planetary defense, specifically NASA's DART mission. Going to nasa.gov, they have Planetary Defense Coordination Office webpage where you can read a lot more, and there's a video as well. But just to give you an update, this is planetary defense of the near-Earth objects. So near-Earth objects, or NEOs, asteroids and comets that orbit the sun like planets, but their orbits can bring them into Earth's neighborhood within 3 million miles of Earth's orbit. Planetary defense is applied planetary science to address the NEO impact hazard. so NASA established the Planetary Defense Coordination Office to manage its ongoing mission of planetary defense. So the PDO provides early detection of potentially hazardous objects, the near-Earth objects whose orbits predict they will come within 5 million miles of Earth's orbit, and of a large enough size, 30 to 50 meters, to damage the Earth's surface. And they also track and characterize potentially hazardous objects and issue warnings of the possible effects of potential impact. And they study strategies and technologies for mitigating potential hazardous object impacts. And they play a leading role in coordinating U.S. government planning for response to an actual impact threat. So, first they find, looking for these objects, and NASA is developing a near-Earth object surveyor space telescope optimized for the NEO search. Of course, the warning system, coordinating with other agencies, and mitigation. So the PDC offers studies of technologies and techniques for deflecting an asteroid off a predicted impact course with Earth, developing missions to demonstrate those technologies and determine their effectiveness in the event that these techniques must be utilized against a predicted asteroid impact threat. So that brings us to the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART. DART is a spacecraft designed to impact an asteroid as a test of technology. DART's target asteroid is not a threat to Earth. This asteroid system is a perfect testing ground to see if intentionally launching a spacecraft into an asteroid is an effective way to change its course should an Earth-threatening asteroid be discovered in the future. DART is the first-ever mission dedicated to investigating and demonstrating one method of asteroid deflection by changing an asteroid's motion in space. This method will have DART deliberately collide with a target asteroid which poses no threat to Earth in order to change its speed and path. DART's target is the binary near-Earth asteroid system Didymus, composed of roughly 780-meter, 80-meter diameter Didymus and the smaller, approximately 160-meter sized Dimorphos, which orbits Didymus. It will impact Dimorphos to change its orbit within the binary system, and the DART investigation team will compare the kinetic impact with Dimorphos, highly detailed computer simulation of kinetic impacts on asteroids. So we'll evaluate the effectiveness of this mitigation approach and assess how best to apply it to future planetary defense, as well as how accurate the computer simulations are and how well they reflect the behavior of a. So the key objectives, DART is a test of our ability to achieve kinetic impact on an asteroid and observe the asteroid. After DART's kinetic impact with its target, asteroid Dimorphos, an investigation team will measure how much the impact changed the asteroid's motion in space using telescopes on Earth. National Planetary Science embraces worldwide cooperation to address the global issues of planetary defense. Its mission objectives are to create a kinetic impact with Dimorphos, change the binary orbital period of Dimorphos, ground-based telescopes observations to measure Dimorphos period change, and measure the effectiveness of the impact and resulting ejecta on Dimorphos. Also learn more information on Dimorphos from the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory. And that website is dart.juliet.hotel.uniform alpha papa lima.edu. So JH.edu. So this is the first planetary defense test mission. Has already been been launched as of November of last year, and the impact should happen in September of this year. So we're for that to happen later this year. Which was on November 23rd, 1 Pacific Standard Time, and DART impact is looking to happen September 26th, 2022, around 7:14 p.m. Eastern. So there's just some brief the DART program. The DART mission is being developed and led for NASA by the Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory. The Planetary Defense Coordinator the DART mission. U.S. partner institutions on DART, the Goddard Space Flight Center, the Johnson Space Center, the Langley Research Center, the Glenn Research Center, the Marshall Space Flight Center, the Kennedy Space Center, the Launch Services Program, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, SpaceX, Aerojet Rocketdyne, Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, Auburn University, Carnegie, Lusk Compound Observatory, University of Maryland, New Mexico with Magdalena Ridge Observatory, and Arizona University, Planetary Science Institute, and the U.S. partners on this project. There's also a DART companion CubeSat called Lycia Cube, CIA Cube. This is contributed by Agenzia Spaziale Italiana and built by Argotec. The Lycia Cube will be deployed from the DART spacecraft roughly 10 days prior to DART's impact to capture images of the event and its effects. Lycia Cube Italian partner institutions. A list of those in my Italian is not very good, so in the interest of time and sake of pronunciation, I'll leave it to you to look up that information. Again, that's dart.jhuapl.edu, and of course, .gov. So there's just a quick overview of NASA's DART Double Asteroid Redirection Test Mission. Again, we'll have more news on that coming in September. So stay tuned. It should be. This is KFI PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. At this time, I'll turn the net back over to Tom, KE5ICX. If you'll do a quick check-in round, and then you have my permission to turn the net over to Chaz following your check-in. ICX from KFI.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Billy. I typed over in Echolink something about the DART mission. Let's see. I guess an asteroid would be the bullseye for DART. Okay, we'll move on. Yeah, this is Chaz, and my degree's in astrophysics. I'm in charge of the astrophysics lab and geology lab at Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus, and we call this segment Skynet Was Up. Slide Masters, slide number 2, please. Thank you, Tom. Face southwest in this evening sky. Orion can be found by looking at the 3 stars of equal brightness in a straight line and evenly spaced. This is the belt of Orion. two bright stars above the belt that represent Orion's shoulders. The brighter one is to the left, and Betelgeuse is the one to the right. Betelgeuse is the one to the left. Bellatrix is the one to the right. The two stars below Orion's belt will be Orion's knees, and the other one is Scythe, and to the right is Rigel. Slide master, I believe it's slide number 3, please. Do I have my slides out of order? I could. I'm sorry. Now, using Orion's belt and drawing down to the left, you run into the bright star of the sky other than the sun. The brightest star is called Sirius. Yeah, I'm not serious. But it is a doggone good star. Oh, it's because it's called the Dog Star. Sirius, the brightest star in the constellation of the Big Dog, which is Canis Major. Slide number 4, please. If you go back to Orion's belt and draw a line from the belt stars up and to the right, you should run into the brightest star in Taurus the Bull, Aldebaran, and keep on going in that line just a bit more, and you should be able to see a little cluster of faint stars called the Pleiades. Aldebaran's stellar classification is a K5, Roman numeral 3. Betelgeuse, or Betelgeuse's classification is an M1, Roman numeral 1. What are these classifications? Slide master, slide number 5, please. The stars are classified by temperature and luminosity. The temperature ratings are actually letters. The hottest star types are O, and the coolest types are M. The types go from hottest to coolest star A, O, B, A, F, G, K, M. We remember the order by a mnemonic saying, "Oh, be a fine girl, kiss me." Or you can say, "Oh, be a fine guy, kiss me." It works either way. The hottest stars, once again, are type O, are more than 30,000 degrees Kelvin. B stars are between 10,000 and 30,000 degrees K. Type A stars are between 7,500 and 10,000. Type F stars are between 6,000 and 7,500. The G stars are between 52 and 6,000. K stars are between 3,700 and 5,200. And M stars are 3,700 degrees Kelvin or less. There are 10 subcategories within each type. For example, type O9 and type B0 are next to each other on the scale. This is called the Harvard Classification System, and it was developed by Annie Jump Cannon. We've talked about her in past Skynets, and I'm sure we'll talk more about her again on future Skynets. Slide master, slide number 6, please. Luminosity classification system of stars are rated by Roman numerals 0 through Roman numeral 7. Main sequence stars are like our sun, are rated 5, or Roman numeral V. Hypergiants are rated as 0, while white dwarfs are rated as VII, or 7. This system of luminosity classification is called the Morgan-Canaan system. When I attended the Ohio State University, yeah, that's my alma mater, Dr. Canaan was a professor emeritus, meaning that he was retired, but he sat in an office and came in a couple times a week. I got to see him occasionally in the astronomy department. I remember that graduate students would hand him a glass plate containing the spectra of a star, but oriented backwards to try to fool Dr. Canaan. Dr. Canaan would immediately reorient the glass plate and hand it back to the graduate student, telling them the exact star classification of that star. And he was always correct. The Morgan-Canaan classification system of our sun is G2, Roman numeral V, or 5. Slide number 7, please. Yesterday, on March the 25th, the moon was at its third quarter phase. So the current phase of the moon is a waning crescent. On April the 1st, no fooling, the moon will be at its new phase. On April the 7th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth, at a distance of 404,438 kilometers. On April the 9th, the moon phase will be the first quarter. Full moon is on April the 16th. On April the 19th, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 365,143 kilometers. Slide number 8, please. A day and a half from now, on March the 28th, in the early morning southeastern sky, we'll have a conjunction of the moon, Saturn, Venus, and Mars. Now, Jupiter and Neptune are still visible in the low east southeastern sky as well. Master, slide number 9. On March the 30th, the conjunction of the moon, Jupiter, and Neptune in a very low east southeastern morning sky. Okay, now, Master, slide number 10, please. There are 8 planets in our solar system. Remember, Pluto got demoted to a dwarf planet back in August of 2006. So, hold out both of your hands outstretched. Now, hold up 3 fingers to represent the following 3 planets. On April the 4th, in the early morning southeastern sky, Saturn and Mars will be in conjunction with Venus, just a little bit further to the left or east of them. So we've got 3 planets so far. Slide Master, slide number 11. Now hold up an additional 2 fingers that represents the following planets. On April the 12th, in the morning sky, Jupiter and Neptune will be in the same telescopic field of view. You will have never seen Neptune, if you haven't, through a telescope. This would be the time to do it. You might be able to see with high-power binoculars, but telescopic view will be much better. So now how many fingers do you have up? Yes, 5. Only 3 more planets to go. Slide Master, slide number 12, please. On April the 17th, Mercury and Uranus will make a nice conjunction in the evening west-northwestern sky. So hold up 2 more fingers that represent the 2 planets. Now, how many fingers are you holding up? Yes, 7 fingers. Only 1 more planet to go. Slide Master, slide number 13. Now, look down at your toes. No, your toes are not planets. Those toes are on the 8th and final planet of our solar system, the Earth. If you want to keep your fingers up during the rest of Skynet, you can. So from April the 4th through April the 17th, you have taken a tour of the planets of our solar system. I hope you go out and take advantage of looking at this. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide number 14. We've already talked about it briefly last night with the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting. Dr. Michael Pierce from the Department of Physics and Astronomy, University of Wyoming, was our featured speaker. It was a great meeting, too. Slide number 15. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas meeting will be held on Friday, April the 22nd at 7:30 p.m. The meeting is probably going to be held on Zoom, from my understanding. Dr. Matthew Siegler, from an SUMU professor here local, research scientist with the Planetary Science Institute, will be our featured speaker. Okay. I've already talked about their website, texasastro.org, to get up-to-date information about that, and the public observing sessions, which are about ready to begin. Slide Master, slide number 16, please. Do any of you out there in radio land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information? Or do you just have a general astronomy question? I don't know everything, but I may know the answer to your question. Or someone else here on the net might know the answer to your question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question. I tried to get some people to ask questions. Okay, Slide Master, slide 17. So as the moon wanes at the end of March, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world, the only one where humans live. And pray for Ukraine. And until next week, actually I'll be doing another segment on Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5 JHA Backdoor Net Control Billy KF5 PDS.
Thank you very much, Chaz. Always look forward to hearing what. All right, this is KF5 PDS. Billy, you're in control of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is space exploration and space history. So at this time, I'll call on our newest contributor, Max. Q5 Sierra Zulu Bravo. Max, welcome to Skynet, and give us a rundown on space exploration and space history from KF5 PDS.
Thanks, Billy. Max here, KI5, Sierra Zulu Bravo. Slide 1, please. So like a time capsule that was sealed for posterity, one of the last unopened Apollo-era lunar samples collected during Apollo 7 has been opened under the careful direction of lunar sample processors and curators in the Astromaterials Research and Exploration Science, or ARES division, at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. This precious and well-preserved sample will serve as a narrow window into the permanent geological record of Earth's closest celestial neighbor, the Moon. Before NASA goes back for more samples, the Apollo Next Generation Sample Analysis Program, or ANXA, is studying some of the last few lunar samples that NASA has kept unopened in pristine condition, awaiting the day when scientists, equipped with improved scientific and technologic methods, could examine them. Next slide, please. Slide 2. Break. That day has finally come when the sample, number 73-01, which was first vacuum sealed on the Moon and then stored in a second protective outer vacuum tube inside the nitrogen-purged processing cabinets in Johnson's Lunar Laboratory. Back in December 1972, astronauts Gene Cernan and Harrison Jack Schmitt collected the lunar regolith by hammering thin cylindrical sample collection devices, or drive tubes, into a landslide deposit in the Moon's Taurus Littrow Valley, capturing layers of ancient history for scientists to pore over. This sample is the lower half of a double drive tube. The upper drive tube, sample 73-02, was returned from the Moon in normal unsealed container, which was opened in 2019. The ANXA science team has been studying its layers of small rocks and soil and is eager to see what the lower half holds. Slide 3. Break. Before the ARES team extruded the drive tube of 73-01, extensive scans were taken at the University of Texas, Austin, using X-ray CT technology to capture high-resolution 3D images of the sample's makeup inside the tube. This will be the permanent record of what the material inside the core looks like before it got pushed out and divided into half-centimeter increments. Last month, the team first worked to capture any gas present within the outer protective tube, and finally, by piercing the inner container to extract any lunar gases remaining inside. The analyses and CT scans ensured there were no big surprises when opening up this scientific gift, and together they helped create a roadmap for the dissection. Before the main event, on March 20th and 22nd, Deputy Apollo Sample Curator Julian Gross also performed dry runs of the extrusion process with a mock-up core in the lab at Johnson. Slide 4. Break. Because Artemis astronauts will go beyond the more familiar lunar equator to the South Pole with its sometimes cryogenic or frozen conditions and its dramatic lighting, the lunar soil there offers tantalizing prospects for study. And while the Apollo samples have provided NASA insights into Earth's natural satellite, new pristine samples from exotic locations on the lunar surface and below the surface will help the agency better understand its volatile reservoirs and geologic evolution. As with Apollo, they will curate the new samples for the long term so that scientists, say 50 years in the future, can analyze them. Through Artemis, they hope to offer the same possibilities for a new generation of scientists. Break. In space history this week, March 21st, slide 5. 1965, NASA launched the Ranger 9 lunar probe designed to image and impact the moon's crater Alphonsus, which was thought to be the site of relatively recent lunar volcanic activity. The spacecraft carried 6 cameras that were pointed directly at the moon's surface during the final phase of flight. 20 minutes before impact, the camera system began to warm up, and for the final 19 minutes before impact, Ranger 9 successfully relayed nearly 6,000 high-resolution images, some of which were broadcast live on television. Data from the mission dramatically improved scientists' understanding of the moon's mass and led to the discovery of the moon's center of mass is displaced from its geometric center. Break. March 22nd, slide 6. 1997, comet Hale-Bopp made its closest approach to Earth. Hale-Bopp was discovered independently by Alan Hale and Thomas Bopp while it was just outside of Jupiter's orbit in 1995. At nearly 665 million miles away, this made Hale-Bopp the furthest comet discovered by amateurs at that point. Being unusually bright, Hale-Bopp probably wasn't that difficult to spot. It appeared 1,000 times brighter than Comet Halley did at that same distance. Hale-Bopp won't return again until around the year 4385. Slide 7, please. Break. After 5 successful years of operating on Mars, the Mars exploration rover Spirit sent its last transmission to Earth. Spirit landed on Mars on January 4th, 2004, 3 weeks before its brother Opportunity. The rover landed successfully, completed its 90-day Sol mission, and functioned 20 times longer than expected. On May 1st, 2009, Spirit became stuck in soft sand. After numerous attempts to wrest Spirit from the soil, NASA decided to continue Spirit's mission in situ, or as a stationary platform. Spirit functioned in this capacity until this day in 2010. Spirit gathered a bounty of scientific data about Mars in addition to the spectacular pictures you have no doubt seen. In relaying data critical to characterizing the current and past geology of Mars, Spirit brought us closer to understanding the role of water on Mars and whether there were conditions there in the past that could have supported life as we know it. Break. Slide 18, March 23rd, 1965, Gus Grissom and John Young launched aboard Gemini 3 in the first U.S. spaceflight crewed by more than one astronaut. The mission was designed to demonstrate the capabilities of manned orbital flight as well as evaluate the new 2-person capsule design. Overall, Gemini 3 marked the beginning of a new phase in learning the skills and testing the technology needed to put humans on the moon. One historic first of this mission was not planned, however. Gemini 3 was the first corned beef sandwich into space. It was jokingly smuggled aboard the spacecraft by John Young, who, by the way, was considered the greatest astronaut pilot of the Apollo program. At the behest of astronaut Wally Schirra, though it was undoubtedly more appetizing than early space food, the crumbs produced by the contraband sandwich posed a potential risk to the flight equipment in the vents. The sandwich in question, now encased in acrylic, holds a special place in history in the Grissom Memorial Museum in Mitchell, Indiana. Break. March 24th. Slide 9, please. 1975, mission controllers terminated communications with the Mariner 10 probe, nearly a week after the spacecraft's third and final Mercury flyby. Mariner 10's primary goal was to study the atmosphere, surface, and physical characteristics of Mercury. As the spacecraft approached the planet, its cameras revealed what scientists termed chaotic terrain, littered with craters and ridges. The spacecraft's magnetometers revealed a weak magnetic field. Radiometer readings suggested nighttime temperatures of minus 298 degrees Fahrenheit and maximum temperatures of 369 degrees Fahrenheit. Apart from its discoveries, the spacecraft itself set a remarkable number of records. It was the first spacecraft sent to Mercury, the mission to explore the two planets Mercury and Venus during a single mission, the first to use a gravity assist to alter speed and trajectory, using Venus to loop into solar orbit, the first to return to its target after an initial encounter, and the first to use a solar wind as a major means of spacecraft orientation during flight. Amazing. Break. Slide 10, please. Astronaut birthdays. March 24th, 1932. Ludwig Vandenberg. 1985, Challenger STS-51 Delta, or, as you can see, the Keith Richards of astronauts. March 24th, 1951, Ken Reitliger, retired Navy captain, senior VP of Lockheed. 327 hours in space, which ironically is the exact same amount of time I have as a pilot in combat. March 24th, 1957, Doc Horwitz, PhD Aerospace Engineering, Air Force test pilot. March 25th, 1928, Jim Lovell, Gemini 7, Gemini 12, Apollo 8, Apollo 13. Part of the Apollo 8 crew, 1968, flew to and orbited the moon. Thanks. This is Max on Space History. Kilo India 5, Sierra Zulu Bravo. Back to Billy in the net.
Thank you so much, Max. There was a lot of history going on at this time. So thanks for all that and some interesting space, too. Next up is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. At this time, though, I'm going to turn it back over to Tom, KE5ICX, if you'll do a quick check-in round. See if we've got anybody that's on frequency that wants to check in. And then if you will also, just after you do that, turn it over to Chaz, KF5JHA, after you check for check-ins. So to KE5ICX from KF5TDS.
November 5, Juliet, Charlie, Mark, Ed, and Wiley.
Thank you, Tom. JJ says on Echolink that I think I want to check in again. Does that mean I'm beside myself? Max, welcome to the net. So glad to hear you. Just a bit of trivia about the Apollo program. The Apollo 11 samples that were brought back from the moon, some of those samples, just a few grams, were analyzed. Actually, I think they're even smaller than a few grams. Was analyzed by one of our adjunct professors, Dr. Fred Bushy, a long time ago, a geologist. Anyway, that's just a bit of trivia. Slide Master, slide number 18. So Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Thus, there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year, out of the 88 total constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky seen over North Texas in a year. In her honor, we have continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's constellations of the week this week is Lynx, the Wildcat, and Cancer, the Crab. And this is KF5JHA. Lynx is one of the most recent constellations, first appearing in 1690 on a star map. Slide Master, slide number 19. I am sure this is the reason why everyone stays around this long for Skynet, because you want the jokes of the week. So when I search Canadian cats on Google, it just gives me a bunch of links. Did it? Oh, okay. Did you hear about the bobcat who found his long-lost cousin? He just followed links in his family. Why did those big cats over there look blue? They're just hyperlinks. Did you hear about the lady who bought a fur coat? She wanted to be the Miss in Lynx. Okay. This lynx just ate 50 rabbits. I guess it was a bad hair day. Oh, I hope you liked all of those. And this is KF5JHA. If you like the jokes, if not, who can I blame? Maybe I'm Clay if you didn't like the jokes. Okay. Slide Master, slide number 20. So to find links, start with Orion and go north, and you should arrive at Capella, which is about overhead. Slide number 20. Then go left or east, and you should run into some faint stars of the constellation of Lynx. Slide number 22. 12 Lynxes, a triple star system with an A-B component separated about 1.5 times the diameter of our solar system, giving a separation of only 1.7 arc seconds as seen from the Earth. Component C is about 8.7 arc seconds from the A-B pair. Also, another star, 38 Lynxes, is a nice double star with different colors between the two members. Slide number 23, please. NGC, which stands for New General Catalog, item number 2419, is a very distant globular cluster commonly known as the Intergalactic Wanderer, because for many years it was believed to be not part of the Milky Way's family of globular clusters. Nowadays, however, it's generally accepted to be a long, highly eccentric, elliptical orbit around the Milky Way. NGC 2419 was believed for many years to be the most distant globular cluster known until and a much fainter globular clusters have been found. The most recent estimates of NGC 2419 is about 300,000 light years from our solar system. That's a long way away. Slide Master, slide number 24, please. The constellation of Cancer the Crab represents the crab that Juno sent to further harass and distract Hercules while he was battling the monstrous Hydra. The crab nipped at Hercules' toes with its claws and was soon crushed and killed by Hercules. Juno placed it in the sky to commemorate it. Slide Master, slide number 25. Oh no! More jokes of the week? Oh yeah, you can't wait for this. oceans celebrate birthdays? With crab cakes. Oh, maybe I put it in a blank slide over there? Okay, all right. What do you call a crab that doesn't like to share? Shellfish. Get it? Shellfish? Why did the hermit crab refuse to go to his shell? Because it was claustrophobic. What do you call a female crab who is also single? Michelle. And the last one for this sequence. A crab walks into the bar and the bartender says, I can't serve you. You're already walking sideways. Slide master, slide number 26. Help me get out of this. To find Cancer, you can go south of Lynx, and you can also find it in between the constellations of Leo and Gemini. If you go, Leo has a bright star called Regulus. Gemini has a couple of bright stars, Castor and Pollux. If you go about halfway in between the bright stars in Gemini and the bright star Regulus, that's where you can find Cancer the crab. Slide master, slide number 27. Theta Cancri, or Tegmini, or Tegmini, is also known, which means covering, referring to the crab's shell or exoskeleton. It's a triple star system. From shifts in the orbit of star C, there is a D component was also found, physically resolving it into adaptive optics camera on a 3.6 meter Canadian, French, Hawaiian telescope back in the year 2000. Interesting. Slide masters, slide number 28. We have two M objects, Messier objects, in Cancer, the crab. M44 is known as the Beehive Cluster. It's Latin for Perseus, which is also Latin for manger. The beehive nickname also comes from a relatively recent, though it also comes from that name as well. It turns out that the word Perseus can be misinterpreted as interpreted as either manger or beehive. The manger interpretation is an older of the two and represents the manger at which two donkeys are feeding. The beehive interpretation is also appropriate since the stars in the cluster resemble a swarm of bees. From a dark sky, M44 is easily visible to the unaided eye as a fuzzy patch of light in the heart of Cancer the crab. With his telescope in 1610, Galileo was the first to reveal M44's true nature and resolved it into stars, describing it as a mass more than 40 small stars. At times, the moon will pass in front of M44, providing a night of many occultations of the beehive stars. We talk about occultations here every once in a while. Slide masters, slide number 29. The other M object is M67. It's another open cluster lying about 9 degrees south of M44, easily found just west of Alpha Cancri. Sharp-eyed observers can see it with an unaided eye in dark skies when conditions are just right. It provides an interesting comparison to M44 because it is much further away at about 2,600 light years compared to M44's 515 light years. M67 is also unusual in a different way. Its stellar population is unlike most galactic open clusters. Instead, it stars with spectral colors and magnitudes more like those of a globular cluster. M67 has been so intensely studied that accurate colors and magnitudes are known for over 500 stars in this cluster, down to 16th magnitude. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 30. A few more astronomical Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Lynx the Cat and Cancer the Crab. I've just given you a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League, at last count, I believe, has 70 different observing programs, most of which have around 100 objects. So if you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen in about a year. Slide Master, slide number 31. And that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Lynx, the Wildcat, and Cancer the Crab. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on the deep sky objects that I've used, borrowed, and stolen for tonight. I do that every week, don't I? I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com. Next time, I'll take a look at actually two more constellations, Leo the Lion and Leo Minor, the Small Lion. And this is KF5JHA, sending it back to our net control, Dr. Billy, KF5PDS. Good night, everyone. 73.
Thank you so much, Chaz. Yeah, those are constellations. I have not spent a lot of time with Cancer, and Beehive is awesome to look at. So I need to get back out and do some more observing. Cluster is really awesome. This is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control. The Skynet. Sorry, next up is space launches for the week. So at this time, I'll turn the net back over to my alternate net control, Tom, KE5ICX, if you'll tell us about space launches for this week. KF5PDS. very much, Tom. Appreciate it. I guess we have some time to look at all those. That's a pretty extensive list, so we have some time to prepare and go ones that we want to see. So when these are happening and be able to follow this information. Next up is recent astronomical discoveries. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Brenda. WOZL, the net is yours.
Thank you, Billy. This is WB5OZL. The article tonight is entitled Scientists Solve Solar Secrets. The further we move away from a heat source, the cooler the air gets. Bizarrely, the same can't be said for the sun, but University of Otago scientists may have just explained a key part of why. Study lead Dr. Jonathan Squire of the Department of Physics says the surface of the sun starts at 6,000 degrees centigrade, but over a short distance of only a few hundred kilometers, it suddenly heats up to more than 1 million degrees, becoming its atmosphere, or corona. This is so hot that the gas escapes the sun's gravity as solar wind and flies into space, smashing into Earth and other planets. We know from measurements and theory that the sudden temperature jump is related to magnetic fields which thread out of the sun's surface, but exactly how these work to heat the gas is not well understood. This is known as the coronal heating problem. Astrophysicists have several different ideas about how the magnetic field energy could be converted into heat to explain the heating, but most have difficulty explaining some aspect of observations, he said. Dr. Squire and co-author Dr. Romaine Mayrand have been working with scientists at Princeton University and the University of Oxford and found two previous theories can be merged into one to solve a key piece of the problem. The group's findings have just been published in Nature Astronomy. Popular theories are based on heating caused by turbulence and heating caused by a type of magnetic wave called ion cyclotron waves. Both, however, have some problem. Turbulence struggles to explain why hydrogen, helium, and oxygen in the gas become as hot as they do, while electrons remain surprisingly cold. While the magnetic waves theory could explain this feature, there doesn't seem to be enough of the waves coming off of the sun's surface to heat up the gas, Dr. Mayrand says. The group used 6-dimensional supercomputer simulations of the coronal gas to show how these two theories are actually part of the same process, linked together by a bizarre effect called the helicity barrier. This intriguing occurrence was discovered in an earlier Otago study led by Dr. Mayrand. If we imagine plasma heating as occurring a bit like water flowing down a hill with electrons heated right at the bottom, then the helicity barrier acts like a dam, stopping the flow and diverting its energy into ion cyclotron waves. In this way, the helicity barrier links the two theories and resolves each of their individual problems, he explains. For the latest study, the group studied the magnetic field lines in simulations and found that turbulence created the waves which then caused the heating. As this happens, the structures and eddies that form end up looking extremely similar to cutting-edge measurements from NASA's Parker Polar Probe spacecraft, which has recently become the first human-made object to actually fly into the corona. This gives us confidence that we're accurately capturing key physics in the corona, which, coupled with the theoretical findings about the heating mechanisms, is a promising path to understanding the coronal heating problem, Dr. Mayrand says. Understanding more about the sun's atmosphere and the subsequent solar wind is important because of the profound impacts they have on Earth, Dr. Squire explains. Effects which result from the solar wind's interaction with the Earth's magnetic field is called space weather, which causes everything from aurora to satellite-destroying radiation and geomagnetic currents which damage the power grid. All of this is sourced fundamentally by the corona and its heating by magnetic fields. So as well as being interesting for our general understanding of the solar system, the solar corona's dynamics can have profound impacts on Earth. Perhaps with a better understanding of its basic physics, we will be able to build better models to predict space weather in the future, thus allowing the implementation of protection strategies that could head off literally billions of dollars of damage. This is at ScienceDaily.com. This is back to net. This is WB5OZL.
All right, next up is visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, but since we're getting short on time, I'll give you the website, and you can look it up yourself to see where to look over. The website is www.heavens-above.com. Again, that's www.heavens-above.com. You can put in your location and all kinds of interesting information about what's in orbit and where to look during flyovers for, like, say, the International Space. So it really gives a lot of information to help that you're looking for. So at this time, since we're winding down, I wanted to throw it back to Tom one more time for a final check-in round, and you'll also get me a final count for this evening's net out of ICX from KF5 TDS.
Whiskey Center, Bravo, Bravo, back radio.
Sierra Golf, Antonio here in Oak Cliff. Sure, no problem. This is Alpha Golf, Niner Sierra Golf, AG9 SG.
Tonight we had 22 hams participating on the air, so thank you to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is KF5 PDS, Billy, and I'll be closing the net at 22:28 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. Three, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. And remember, following that is the Afterglow movie net. So, three, everybody.
completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
probably work. I had the audio set wrong, so you couldn't hear me. Not that that makes any difference if you were on the stream. Oh well. Okay, we're about ready to begin Battle Beyond the Sun. So, everybody pull up a chair. Your favorite drink, make it a double. You're going to need it this evening. So, let me tell you about the movie. Battle Beyond the Sun is an English-dubbed and re-edited U.S. version of Nebula's Yacht, a 1959 Soviet science fiction film. Roger Corman acquired the Soviet film for U.S. distribution and hired a young film student named Francis Ford Coppola to Americanize it. It is still a tale of the space race, two nations competing to become the first to land a spacecraft on the planet Mars, but switches the competing nations via the dubbing from the USSR and the USA to fictional future countries of North EMS and South EMS. The names of not only the Soviet characters, but also their performers and the crew credits as well, were altered on the screen to American-sounding names in order to further disguise the film's origins. Thus, Soviet stars Alexander Sholorin and Ivan Perverzev become Andy Stewart and Ed Berry, and Soviet director Mikhail Koryakov and Alexander Koizer become Maurice Kaplan and Arthur Corwin, and were demoted to assistant director status as well. The advertising and release prints designed prints designated director is given as Thomas Kolchart. Sources vary as to whom that name actually belongs to. It could be Koryakov or Koizar or Coppola or a hired American dubbing director. Who knows? This is kind of interesting. I'll read this and then let me see. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that the plot is this long. I'm not going to read the plot because I don't think it really matters. But it does have some interesting things in here. It says that in addition to preparing the dubbing script free of anti-American propaganda and all references to the USSR and USA, supervising the dubbing, Francis Ford Coppola slightly re-edited the footage, eliminating the framing daydream sequences, and even saw to it that the pastel rhombus shape was matted in on one shot-by-shot basis to cover the acrylic letter CCCP, or USSR, which adorned the space station and the Soviet rocket ships. Coppola also filmed a few shots of two space monsters fighting, and cut them into the Soviet material. According to Jack Hill, who worked on the new version, it was his first paid job for Roger Corman. Coppola's idea was that one monster would look like a penis and the other a vagina. And the new monster scenes were shot on a soundstage in Hollywood. Hill and Coppola also shot some footage of the Rose Parade in Pasadena. I can't make this stuff up, folks. It's on YouTube. All right, I'm going to try and quickly go through this plot because I don't think it really matters. The film opens with a non-sequitur prologue in which narrator voice explains space-flight concepts with models of spacecraft currently under development by the United States government and are shown in succession. The narrator usually explains the motion picture about to see may be called a fantasy of the future. The time is November 1997, fear-ridden years following the first atomic war, and the world has been divided in northern and southern hemispheres. See Dr. Albert Gordon and his wife, Dr. Ruth Gordon, currently head top-secret Project Red Planet for South Hemis. Let's see. It shows footage of a original Soviet spaceship being repurposed and blasting into orbit. Mission docks with the station, delivering the Gordons as well as solar and orbital conditions are favorable. Suddenly another spacecraft is depicted approaching the station. Sure, why not? And it has the two North Hemisphere astronauts, Captain Torres and Dr. Martin, are treated to dinner by their South Hemisphere hosts. Dr. Gordon reveals that they themselves are about to commence a flight to Mars. The two North Hemisphere astronauts decide to end dinner because it's getting late. So they find out the one group wants to get to Mars before the other group, and Captain Torres decides to proceed with the flight to Mars anyway. Our repairs may not be held up. Apparently there's something wrong with the spaceship. They decide to commandeer their rocket ship, the Typhoon, under cover of trying to repair it. They blast off at full power. Paul Clinton, a South Hemisphere astronaut, is caught in the rocket back blast and is injured. Meanwhile, the Typhoon sets course for Mars. Let's see here. We got concussion. The Mercury is now low on fuel. Let's see. Meanwhile, the Typhoon encounters a meteor storm. They all do. Of course, veers dangerously close to the sun. Which direction are these people going? The ship is disabled. The Mercury locates the Typhoon and eventually intercepts it. Matthews effects an EVA transfer to the two North Hemisphere for the North Hemisphere astronauts. The South Hemisphere ship abandons the Typhoon to space. Mercury is now low on fuel and cannot reach Mars. Dr. Gordon decides to land on the asteroid Anchor, which orbits Mars. Why they picked that when there's two perfectly good planetoid moons that would fit this description, Phobos and Deimos, is beyond me. This ship successfully lands on the asteroid. Brief insert shows the vague form of a rocket form in the shadows behind the rock formation, roaring monster. Meanwhile, back at the station, South Hemispheres decide to send fuel rocket to Anchor. And it explodes, of course. Let's see here. It makes the Mercury. We don't care what happens after that. More discussion. Mercury launches from Anchor. It passes the space station and returns to Earth, landing at an offshore platform. Adoring throngs of people composed from more repurposed Soviet footage, including some insert shots from the Pasadena Rose Parade, greet them with exhilarant admiration. Boats are launched to pick up the team, who are returned to shore. Dr. Gordon is reunited with his wife, and they embrace. Children present them with flowers. Dr. Gordon and his team do not make it to Mars, but they have set the stage for further exploration of space sometime in the near future. Hopefully not with these same people either on the missions or making the movies. Well, with that very confusing description, yes, I skipped parts, but the parts I skipped, they don't matter. There's just more of the same. So this is it. This is a wonderful festival of science transgressions and visual spectacles and really strange acting and other things. So let's go ahead and get started. I will take check-ins, which means you just give me your call sign, your name, and did you see Battle Beyond the Sun? And if you didn't, that's okay. Let us know, because if you haven't seen it, we'd like to know if you would after we've discussed the movie. So please come now.
W5 BLT Whiskey 5 Bacon Lettuce Tomato Bill Garland. Yes, I saw the movie.
Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey. Whiskey, sorry. Jane or whatever, and I saw 3/4 of it.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. This is Brenda DeSoto. Yes, I saw this movie.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. It pains me to admit it, but I saw the movie. This is Tony in Dallas.
This is KI5 JCM. I have not seen the movie. November Echo, Kane and Richardson. Я смотрю film, товарищ.
Alright, that's not too bad. Opening volley is good. We got W5BLT, Bill and Garland, yep, you saw it. KG5BZWJ near Weatherford. He got 3/4 of the way through. That's a miracle because I was lucky I got through what I did. But I did manage to see it all. I think copious drugs helped. WB50ZL, Brenda, DeSoto, she saw it. NT5TM, Tony in Dallas, yep, you saw it. KI5GCM. If I could get your name and location, I know you did not see the movie, but you will be subjected to questions of whether you want to see it. But could I have your name, please?
This is KI5JCM, Kilo India 5, Juliet, Charlie Mike, Thomas in Euless.
Alright, excellent. KI5JCM, Thomas and Euless. We'll be asking you later on what you think about what everybody else thought about. K5Andy, Kane, and Richardson, he did see the movie. If you have additional check-ins, please come down. Alright, there's usually a few stragglers that show up a little later on. We will pick them up as time allows. So let me go down the list directly. Bill, W5BLT. You get the first volley on this one. Tell us what you thought about the plot to this film. And good luck with that one.
Well, usually, W5BLT, usually, being blind, I go out and read the summaries of the movie, so I have an idea. And I didn't because I thought, well, this will be it's an old science fiction film, there's lots of good dialogue, it'll be a great movie, and so I knew nothing about this going in, knew nothing about it after I got done watching it, and then went and read this synopsis on Wikipedia and wish I had done that beforehand. It was horrible. I couldn't figure out the plot, and now that I read Wikipedia and your plot summary, it all kind of falls into place about now purchasing the movie and then re-editing it, and now that all makes sense. And wow, that's an hour of my life I can't get back. But yeah, the plot was very confusing, and the dialogue, and it was a mess. Glad to be back with all of you. W5BLT, back to net control. Thank you, Tom.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. And I just thought of something funny because I won't remember this later on. I'm going to mention it now. If you tell a bunch of film students that this was a Francis Ford Coppola film in that he was involved and Roger Corman was involved. Now, Roger Corman has very bad reputation. Francis Ford Coppola has very good reputation. But you say, they collaborated on this film, which technically they did. How would a film student handle this? Would they give it accolades? Would they look at it and say, well, it's an art house film? Maybe it's better than we think because it's way smart. They're way smarter than us. What would they do? That's a good question. All right. Next is Jay, KB5BZW. Jay, what did you think about the plot for Battle Beyond the Sun?
KG5BZW on Echo Link now. Wow. I don't know what to say about this film. I really just don't know. The plot really just didn't make much sense. The only thing that is interesting about this film is the people involved, even if only one of them, known for actual good film in the sense that, I really wish I had read that article just to see how he tried to match it up for whatever purpose, and just to see if there's any references to, has Francis ever thought about commenting on this film, or is it just too painful for even him to look at because, he was forced to do all these little edits and stuff to, make it not propaganda piece or whatever it was, and I don't know. Oh man, I'm just out of words. KG5 BGW.
Oh, don't beat yourself up, Jay. I bet you if you presented Francis Ford Coppola with this film, he would probably feel the same way and say, well, I did it while I was on a binger or drinking a kegger in film school. And that's what you would need to be able to, do what he did, which was really weird. Okay, next up is Brenda, WB5OZL. Brenda, what did you think about the plot to this film?
This is WB5OZL. Well, let me start by saying, when I heard Roger Corman and Francis Ford Coppola, I thought, oh boy, this is going to be great. It wasn't. It suffers from what so many science fiction movies suffer from, where they say more is more. They never heard less is more, and they try and cram too much into it that does not add to the story or inspire you in any way. Just lots of spaceships and lots of explosions, blah, 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 talking. And there wasn't any character I cared about. I know this is characterization, but they didn't do a good job developing the characters. And of course that drives the plot. But it's like I kept looking for a plot. Surely there's one in here behind the door somewhere. No, there wasn't really. Or the plot was so simple-minded that it just really couldn't keep your attention. And I haven't seen many Russian movies. I'm not sure what to expect. And this was a long time ago when movie making was a little different. A lot of science fiction movies were just bug shows and not very well developed in stories. Certainly some shining examples of otherwise, but there's a whole bunch of them that are the reason why they call them B movies. Okay, that's my 2 bits worth. Back to net, WB5OZL.
All right, thank you, Miss Brenda. And yes, your pitiful explanation of this film actually fits with the pitiful plot and the execution, so it's okay. You actually are on par at this point. We'll give you a C+, and we'll give the movie a D-. So moving right along, Tony, NT5TM. Tony, I know your sensibilities. You'll find something noble and very special about this film. I can feel it because I know that you're a Francis Ford Coppola admirer. You find his films wonderful. You're going to go see The Godfather and the 50th anniversary in the theaters when it comes out, all 495 hours. So tell us, what did you think about Battle Beyond the Sun?
being here. I know it's hard to stay coherent this late at night. I'm having a hard time myself, and I know I'm not the only one. There were some shots in this movie that were beautiful. Of course, that's all to the credit of the original Soviet casting crew who thought they were making a big-budget epic. Was it the Rodina? Whatever the original landers on the asteroid around Mars were, there were some wonderful shots of those astronauts silhouetted against a completely fictitious Mars that really made me forgive the lack of plot for a moment. Because it isn't what Mars looks like, but it was a beautiful idea of what Mars could have looked like, and they worked hard to do that, and wow, I kind of want a big poster of that. But sadly, we have to contend with the actual plot, which, I gotta kind of agree with Brenda. It's inseparable from the characterization in this case. I had a very hard time telling what was going on because the characters were so completely indistinguishable and unmemorable. I know they had names, for what good that did me, and I know they were supposed to be doing things of some kind or another, but because I couldn't keep track of their names or faces or emotions and drives or what it was they were supposed to be doing, I couldn't really follow the plot. And I slept well last night, and when I tried watching this, it was early in the afternoon, and I hadn't been drinking yet. So I gotta give this a really bad grade because I was at my best, and my mind wandered over to the work doll prefix contest, and we've got a cute pet bird, and she wanted some pets and treats, and I just couldn't make myself pay attention to this the way it deserved. Well, really what that tells me is I paid attention to it the way it did deserve. NP5TM.
Very good. Thank you, Tony, and that was a fine explanation to this film. Okay, Thomas, I'm going to come back to you in just a minute. We've got to hear what everyone else has to say before you cast judgment on the plot. So let me see here. We're moving down the list. I'm going to go to Kane, K5ANE. Kane, what did you think of the plot? Now, I know you also are a person who is an aficionado of fine motion pictures, and Francis Ford Coppola has been involved with writing the plot to Patton and doing the series, the entire Godfather series, the 100 years span. So I know that you've got something good to say about the movie. So, Keen, what did you think? K5ANE from KE5ICX.
Well, I have this reasoned opinion on this movie and everything else, but magnetic interference is just causing all kinds of problems, and it's not coming across, and it doesn't make any sense, how magnetic interference would cause such a problem in me describing my opinion on the plot, but here we are. So, in the end, I find it funny that they always have to tie in some kind of monster into this kind of time frame of sci-fi movie. It can never just be a sci-fi movie without there being some kind of weird, rubbery monster. At least this time, though, the monsters aren't directly attacking the people, and are just kind of doing their own thing, on an asteroid that's... Wait, why is it an asteroid that's going around Mars? Isn't that then a moon? This doesn't make any sense. And it's Francis Ford Coppola, right? This should be great, right? But, gosh, in the end, though, it's a college project, right? Clearly. This is quite a stinker for what it could be. I do have to say, though, I gotta give him some credit. It's not like the Russian version is really that much better. When you're really looking at it, in the end, there's this whole daydream kind of aspect on the Russian plot versus the U.S. version, where they tried to make the whole thing entirely real. But, let's be honest here. In the end, this isn't really that great of a movie, which, mean, even when you're thinking about it from a late 1950s, early 1960s kind of mindset on sci-fi, there's some other more interesting concepts going on. I really kind of wish that they would have had a bit more science in their science fiction in the end as to the plot, and it's always kind of a little bit frustrating with that. In the end, that's my opinion. This is K5A&E, back to net control.
All right, thank you, Kane, and thank you for your heroic effort to try and save this plot and give some kudos to the film as much as you could, without talking about the mental derangement that comes from watching it. All right, I'm going to jump up to Thomas, KI5JCM. Thomas, you have not seen this film, but what do you think? Would you like to see it? Does this remind you of another film that's as equally as good, or, heaven forbid, better, from KE5ICX?
KI5JCM here, and by the way, you're my first contacts on my really cool new souped-up antenna, but I look at it kind of like matter and antimatter. Both these guys are masters in their respective but polar opposite schools. Roger Corman is the king of low-budget B-movies. They're silly and they're goofy, but they will leave you entertained in the right mood. Coppola does deep, thought-provoking movies. So I'll just say, look, I don't know how this film connects to Corman, but if you've ever seen Corman's Battle Beyond the Stars, that's just some good 80s cheese right there. Two polar opposites combining, they blew the whole thing up. Best I got. KI5JCM.
That's excellent. Thomas, thank you. You're very energetic, and you gave the answer, and you made us think maybe Corman has more to offer us, and he does, and we know Coppola has more to offer us, and he does, going to the future. But I think what I found really amazing in your comment was it's bright, it's positive, it's not like everybody else that feels like they lost an hour and a half of their lives watching this film. So maybe there's something to be said for just skipping the movie and just showing up for the net. I don't know. Now, before I give my comments, I'll go ahead and ask if there's anyone else who would like to check in this evening. Please come now with your call sign, your name, and whether you saw the movie Battle Beyond the Sun from 1961 or 58 or 62. We can't decide. Please come out.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I've seen the movie.
Sean, you're here. Your eyes a ray of sunshine when it comes to early science fiction films, and this one is, of course, you may be showing up a little late. Francis Ford Coppola was involved with this one, so I'm sure you've got very positive things to say about Battle Beyond the Sun. So please go ahead with your ideas on the plot from KE5ICX.
Yeah, this is KB9SLK. Well, the positives. Well, there was an attempt here to make a point. Obviously, this movie was made in around, when the fears of nuclear war was still in our minds. So, they obviously started out the movie, of course, with that. And then, at that time, with the Apollo missions, things were gearing up. So, obviously, they decided to move in the future, and now we're going to have a space race for Mars. So I can kind of see where they actually got the idea for this movie, because in that time period, that was stuff that was on everybody's mind. And of course, everybody thought then, probably by 1997, we'd all be blown up. So we've seen this many times in many movies. And unfortunately, that's about where the plot really kind of ends for quite some time. The rest of the movie is just kind of nonsense. A lot of drawn-out scenes to get you to the space station and the multiple reclines and their chair and then these elderly guys that there was no way they would be astronauts in the shape they were in, going to the space station. And then, of course, the other side comes along, and and I really thought they were going to do some kind of sabotage, but instead, no, they jump back in their spaceship and try to go there, and then we continue, or the other side continues on to try to beat them, and then of course they end up helping them, and they end up on that ridiculous asteroid, which made no sense at all whatsoever. We did get to see lots of animations of the antennas going back and forth. They seem to really like that. There's a lot of drawn-out scenes showing antennas, which normally would be, interesting to amateur radio operator, but not these. And then the movie basically just ends up saying that one good act of helping somebody was going to solve world peace. And, and obviously, I think at the end of the day, that's really what the two writers were trying to get to on this. I think they were trying to say that really we should be working together, and especially that time between us and the Russians and the tension. And I really think that was really the point of this movie. And they tried to throw some sci-fi in there, which was very, very poorly done. And two, they must be using warp drive, because they went from the sun all the way to almost to Mars in like 2 minutes. That was pretty impressive. But yet, they got that close to Mars, even though they got more fuel, they didn't go on. Which that didn't make no sense either. Anyway, I'm sure most of this has already been said. But anyway, back to that. This is KB9S, okay.
Oh, Sean, you are so correct on all of that. All right, my comments, yeah, I agree with what everybody has said so far about the film and the plot. I found and Sean hit upon this, one of the most outrageous things about the movie is the fact that they totally went away and didn't do any of the science. We just moved the plot along, and we could leave the space station anytime we want. There's no orbital mechanics to worry about. We can leave early. Now, if you leave early and you've got a flat tire on your spaceship, expect to be pulled over to the side of the road and not be able to go anywhere. You got to get picked up by the Russians. I mean, the North Hemisphere people, and to take care of, bring you back and get rid of your your Typhoon spaceship, and it disappears into the darkness. That was kind of crazy, and the unbelievable continuous takeoffs and landings and this and that, and then they go and they talk and talk and talk. And what do they talk about? It's nuts. They just spend all their time talking. Now, I don't want to get too far into the sets and special effects, because that's where this thing really shines or falls or whatever you want to do. But the science just is not existent. And the two aliens that were fighting, I guess it was a domestic disturbance, perhaps. That may have something to do with it. I don't know. It just seemed odd to me. The whole thing was just kind of weird. So, what do you do? What do you know? I don't know. It's just the way it is. So, that's kind of the way with it. The beginning, it's obvious that it came during that was added in later on. We had the whole thing with the now I've lost my place. I saw Battlestar Galactica's coming on MeTV again. I got distracted, which is easy to do after this movie. But at any rate, yeah, it just and the poor guy getting the jet exhaust. You would think that he would die from that, or be blown out into space. I mean, it is supposed to move from one place to another, and since the entire solar system is only about 600 feet wide, the blast probably would have blown him out of the solar system. And of course, we did that because we have a short attention span going on here. We got people who, we're not that are watching the movie are probably going to be kids. And it is a B movie. You know where the A and the B came from, right? Right? A sides, the good music's on the A side. You flip the 45 over, and on the B side, it's the not so good song. A B movie. This is education for anybody who's under the age of 30. You probably don't know that, but it's okay. We'll forgive you. And if you've seen this movie and you're listening to us, I'll forgive you anyway. Okay, next up we discuss, what do we want to talk about? Oh, we want to talk about the characterizations. Oh boy, this will be a quick one. So we'll start at the top, W5BLT, Bill, over in Garland. Bill, what did you think about the characterizations, the characters, or the acting, or the dubbing, whatever you want to say, from KE5ICX?
Oh, I'm going to disappoint you. I really don't know what to think. It was bad dubbing. I felt nothing for the characters. When the person, and I can't think of his name, died saving them, I felt no tears. No, just couldn't get into it. Didn't care about them at all. It's an interesting Cold War film, I suppose. But yeah, I think I just didn't care about the characters because I just couldn't follow it. W5BLT.
All right, Bill. Well, you did great on the first round. The second round, not so much. You know, there's a lot of film school students that were counting on you, listening intently right now. I know there's got to be at least, you know, none of them listening right now that might need your help. KG5BZWJ, you're a very astute person when it comes to the characterizations. I'll bet you pulled something out of this that was really interesting. So tell us, what did you think about the characters in Battle Beyond the Sun from KE5ICX?
This is KG5BZW. I'll have to say, I think the best character in this film was the sun, which is obviously not quite like our sun, but has some very super physical powers to affect spaceships, which I don't even. I mean, I'm trying to figure out the orbits. I admittedly am no physicist or astrophysicist that would, know much about that, or even I haven't even played Kerbal Space yet. It's just like on my to-do list. But yeah, the natural way that the competing spaceships are, I guess the one that we're supposed to like, they didn't really have so much trouble. They just had not enough fuel to accomplish their goal. But my only wish was that the sun was even more powerful and it could just use its magnetic tendrils to just have gobbled both of them up. Second thing I can remember, gosh, those antennas were kind of cool. I want to know where the footage was for especially that really big dish. As far as actual human characters, people have already said what I think. There's nothing memorable about anybody I saw at the command or in the ship. I just did not care one bit. KG5BCW.
So sad, so sad. Okay, well, it's okay. Moving on, let's go to Brenda, WB5OZL. She picked this film. So, Brenda, what was it about the characters that you found so engaging? Or the acting, for that matter, or the dubbing? There's got to be something here that's worth, discussing from KE5ICX. Brenda fell asleep. Well, we'll come back to her because I know she's out there and she would never leave without saying goodbye and saluting or something. So let's go to Tony, NT5TM. Tony, you're kind of a cosmopolitan kind of guy, so you know all about North Hemis and Hemis and South Hemis and all of that. What did you think of the characterizations? Were they true to North and South Hemis? From KE5I6.
Well, that's a very good question, and you're right. The characterizations were absolutely true and faithful to the characters of North Hemis and South Hemis. These are forgotten places because they never existed in real life, and they had no value or purpose in literature. And likewise, these characters are doomed to be forgotten because they did not exist in real life and they were utterly without value in film or literature. I wish I could say something positive like, oh, that one character was kind of true to life. She pressed that button and he tuned that oscilloscope very well. But I can't because, absolutely, completely forgettable and for good reason. Sorry, I can't, I'm in the kitchen still. I don't know if you're on YouTube trying to get a drink of water while I'm talking or something. Just counting on me to take up more time. But I can't. November Tango 5, Tango Mike. What forgettable characters. I've forgotten about them already.
No, Tony. I was actually what I'm trying to do is while I'm talking to you, I found a Dell touchpad thing that I had long forgotten, and unfortunately my mousey on my computer has died. That's on the iMac, and so I'm using a crappy Dell mouse on it, which I hate. So I went with a crappy Dell Cat touchpad, and I'm trying to make it work, and I found batteries in it that look like they've been in there for about, 10 years. So I'm trying to make this work while talking to you, while getting acid all over me from the AAA batteries. So that's all I'm doing, but I'm sitting by the radio, listening intently to everything you're saying. Okay, let's see here. Next up is, number 4. I put Thomas down the list a little bit so we can ask him, but stay there, Thomas, because he will be coming up here after Kane. K5ANE is next. Kane, your thoughts on characterization, please.
I really wish that I could identify with some of these characters, but gosh, so many, even though they start at the very beginning about this, this loving relationship between these two scientists, and then it's like, even that is then barely fleshed out, and it's just, all of these characters, they're so flat, so incredibly flat, and they only exist to push along the narrative of the movie, which the narrative itself isn't that engaging. It's so difficult. And I guess from that perspective that they managed to push the meager narrative along, congratulations. But there's really nothing to write home about when it comes to the characters. K5A&E, back to net.
All right, thank you, Kane. And yes, okay, somewhat lackluster, that's okay. Next, KI5JCM, Thomas. Any additional comments? What do you think about dubbed movies? I was thinking there's, Raymond Burr appeared in Godzilla, and they added his scenes in it, even though it really didn't mean anything. But now that I think about it, if we had added Raymond Burr to this movie, I think it would have been much better. They could just like run something out of an old Perry Mason, and I think it would have helped the film. What do you think from KE5ICX?
Well, I think it's great the way the writers and producers of this film went through so much effort to make these characters so easy to tell apart by, giving them different names. I think Raymond Burr would have been great. I do not speak ill of dubbed movies. Kung Fu films are all dubbed, and they're endlessly entertaining. That's all I've got. TI5JC and back to net control.
All right, that was quick. I'm over here. I'll even put it on the stream for the one person who might be watching. But I'm looking for a Soviet. There he is. I found him. Was it Kosigan? I'll pop him on the screen if you're looking. Chernenko, Konstantin Chernenko. He looks exactly like the guy who was in the movie, the old guy. That he was something. There he is with his and complete with the Russian stuff. So if you're watching, you'll see him there. He looks just like that senior cosmonaut astronaut guy. So he may have been picked by type. So you never know. All right, next up is Sean, GB9SOK. Sean, I know you have something positive to say about the characterization, so please go ahead from KE5ICX.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, probably the biggest standout in this was probably the two monsters fighting each other. Their loud grunting and yelling seemed, I would guess, realistic for alien monsters on an asteroid with no oxygen. But I'm sure we'd hear them just fine. Yeah, the characters, it's been said, they're very flat. I think it was written that way, just really poor dialogue. But then even the actors, I just got no feeling from them. I mean, their facial expressions never really matched their mood. Somebody gets killed, they're smiling, and then when something good happens, they're sad. I mean, it was just very weird. And as I said, there are some good dubbed movies, but this definitely wasn't one. There's just no feeling for these people. Other than I said that maybe the monsters. And the other weird thing I thought too was, I forgot to mention earlier, is why is there just one lady that's at mission control? That makes no sense. You're going to Mars. You got one person running mission control. I'm struggling to find something positive this time. Actually, I do have a question for Tony, though. Do birds enjoy watching TV? And if so, do you subject your birds to these poor movies? Anyway, back to net. This is KB9SOK.
Oh, Sean, I agree with you. I think this is what causes them to go to sleep. You can put that thing over the top of them and they'll fall asleep, but I think these movies will do that to them as well, no matter what the time of the day or night. So, no problem there. All right, I'll ask, are there any additional check-ins? Tonight's Afterglow movie, we are talking about Battle Beyond the Sun, the 1958, 61, 62 Soviet Zeit to Roger Corman movie spectacular that came out as, I guess, the second film in a double feature. Anybody who would like to join us, even if you've not seen Battle Beyond the Sun, please check in with your call sign, your name, and did you see this fine film?
November 5, India, Mike, Sierra, JJ, and no, I did not see this fine film. Although I do have a story about it. This is N5INS.
November 8, Whiskey Romeo. NAWWR, Romeo Grapevine. Negative.
We got two more victims. I mean individuals. individuals who came out to discuss something, or at least say they're out there. Thank you both. Let's start with JJ, N5IMS. You have a story for us about this film, or just a story? It doesn't matter. Tell us from KE5ICX.
Well, this movie, this fine film, is on one of the multi DVD sets that I have, and so I figured I would go ahead and watch it off the DVD and, see what extra stuff they might have on it. And I spent 2.5 hours of the hour and a half I had allocated for it trying to get my Windows 10 machine to play the DVD. And of course, being those multi sets have multiple movies on each DVD, you have to select which one to get in there. And of course, that totally confused. Even though it used to work, apparently my Windows 10 update decided to update the player or something that was being used by the player, and so it just would not play. And like I said, like I try and do, is always have something positive to say about every movie that I participate in on this net. So my positive thing was I couldn't get the player to play, so I was unable to watch this movie. This is N5IMS, back to net.
Thank you, JJ, and you're right. That's probably the most positive thing you could say. Now, you do realize you could just watch it on YouTube for free. There were no ads. It says it's ad supported or something. Actually, there are two versions of the same film on there. Two different people had uploaded it. So there you have it. Apparently, two people in the universe thought it was good. I was looking for my collection of really bad science fiction films. You probably, one person who was watching might have seen me, but I can't find it. It must be in the other room. I'll find it eventually. It's probably the same set you have. Like 100 movies, none of them any good, but that's okay. All right, Romy's up. Romy. N8WWR. Do you want to rush out and see this film? Well, you can't watch it in any theater, but you can watch it in the privacy of your own home on YouTube. Did you get to hear what the plot was, and are you familiar with Battle Beyond the Sun? Or at least have you heard of it? Would you be willing to watch it? Are these too many questions? You can just answer no to everything from KE5ICX.
Good evening, Tom, and the rest of the net. From what I've been listening to the last 15 minutes, I'm not too motivated to watch it. I would. Don't get me wrong, I would. I was off the bed. I picked up a ridiculously cheap Kenwood handy talkie at Dalton today. Next Edge Digital VHF unit. Crazy cheap. And had a programming cable and everything, just no software. So I got some software on eBay. I'm going to reset. I ordered it before I went to bed, and I was closing up shop, literally, and then I got a notification that, the link was in my message. So I came in here and I had to download the software, and I wanted to putz around with this radio. So that's what's going on. I'm not on it right now. I'm on the actual. This is a handy talkie. It'd be amazing. But no, yeah. So yeah, I got it. It's successful. That's why I'm up though. So there you go. So I'm in for the count. Tom, thanks for running that. And yeah, I don't think I'm gonna rush out and see it, but I would. I would see it though. NAWR.
Well, very good. Well, before you run away, I had forgotten about Belton, and it was this weekend. How was Belton? Was any good deals to be had?
Well, I think this talkie that I got for $50 with the charger, the programming cable, when they got a unit on eBay for one going for $370, and they got another one going for $600, I think was kind of a steal. You know, I saw the thing and I says, the guy says, that's the analog, right? You know, VHF. He's like, yeah. I pull it up and I'm like, oh, this is the little next edge badge on the side. I'm like, oh, that's digital. But yeah, no, Belton it was my first time down there, so I don't have any other comparison to any other time to compare it to. But I had a blast, and I thought it was pretty busy down there. I didn't see too many folks from the Dallas club, if at all. But yeah, it was well, I saw an ex-president down there. But other than that, no. So there you go. NAWR.
All right, thanks, Romy. Well, I don't think we really promoted it on any of the nets. I completely forgot about it, to be honest with you. It would have been a nice day to go down, but it's always been, it was twice a year. I think it still is. I think the last time I was down there was before the COVID thing, probably about 3 years ago, and it was pretty good. It's always fun. It's usually old home week. You get to see a lot of people, mainly from the Dallas area, but because it's so far south and close to Austin, you get a few people from there as well. So it's kind of a fun get-together, and we as a group at times have gone over. There used to be a steakhouse out front. I think that's since closed, but we'd go and eat somewhere, and sometimes even overnight on a Friday, and show up early Saturday morning and do stuff. So it can be a lot of fun. It's just, I did totally slip my mind. All right, well, let's get back to the subject at hand. This will be our third round. It might be our final round, and that is we're going to talk about special effects. This may be the only thing we can really grab onto and talk about with any deep satisfaction. So we'll do that. What did you think about the special effects? What did you think about the music? Boy, have I got something to say about that one, but you can beat me to it if you want to. So we'll start at the top. W5BLT, Bill. We're talking about Battle Beyond the Sun from 1961, we think. What did you think about the special effects or anything else you want to mention about the film from GE5ICS?
Oh, thank you, Tom. You know, this is a lot of pressure. I missed the past couple of weeks trying to get things organized here and antenna, and appreciate everybody's work on the repeater as well last weekend. I think it's made a big difference, and I'm just not up, I guess, for the pressure in the clutch moment. Special effects, obviously I'm not going to comment on the visual stuff, but I've heard that it was groundbreaking for that time period, I guess. The music, not very memorable, although I did read some comments that people thought the music was pretty good. The monsters growling sounded very realistic and scared me. And so I thought they did a great job with that, and the rocket sounds were good. And my only other comment is that, because I don't want to lose this if there's not a fourth round, you know, in intelligence communities and stuff, you know, you need to get information and you need to force people to talk. And I thought that, I just had this crazy thought, I think it's because it's late, but subjecting those that we need to get information from to this movie and also the Star Wars Holiday Special, I'm sure they would divulge everything they know at that point. W5BLT, hopefully you remember this Star Wars Holiday Special. W5BLT.
Oh, thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill. Yes, I actually tried to watch that thing one night, and I'd seen it back when it first appeared. I think it was on ABC, and it was pretty terrible. And I hate to say it, or maybe I'm glad to say it, but this movie was actually better than the Star Wars Holiday Special, and that's not saying a lot. I call this limbo science. How low can you go? So, yeah, pretty bad. Okay, well, thank you for your comments. I always have, even though we have like a third round and we kind of mix it together, I always ask if there's any final additional comments, something that somebody may have remembered or decided to defend this film for whatever reason, or fell asleep or unconscious. You know, and fight Brenda. She fell asleep or ran away, and I'll get to her in a few minutes here because Brenda, you missed out. If you're asleep, wake up. Next is JGG5BZW. Jay, what did you think about special effects, music, whatever you want to talk about on this film from KE5ICX?
KG5BZW. Yeah, the special effects are the one thing I could kind of say something good about. I did like a number of the visuals I saw. Some of it were extended period. They were extended longer than they really needed to be. But they did still look good, I guess. Compared to some of the other things we've seen, that period, I thought I remember some shots of the spacecraft and some of the other things. Even just the things that didn't quite make sense. Oh my goodness, what the heck was that gravity? And they had the guy floating in the space station. I totally missed what the heck. Like they had some sort of artificial gravity or something, and then all of a sudden there's a guy floating. So it's like somebody thought at some point, well, we need to have somebody floating, but we can't have everybody floating, so we'll just make some sort of joke out of it and blah blah blah. Actually, the floating wasn't that bad, but I don't know. I actually even like the unrealistic insides of these spacecraft and the control cubicles. I'm just calling them cubicles because I don't know what to call them. I didn't think really realistic, but there's a certain to it. I just actually kind of like it. Yeah, that's all I can say. The music, I do not remember the music. You mentioned Perry Mason, and I say, oh, I gotta listen to the Perry Mason theme now. And now I'm thinking, like, that could have helped this movie out. Not really, I don't know. I'm sure there's some sort of edit. Just that and a few other songs could have made this a lot more fun. At least that's easy way or something. I don't know. I will leave on that. KG5BZW.
All right, thank you, Jay. I've got things to say about the music. You'll understand why and why it never registered with you. There's a reason for that. Okay, next up is Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, are you still with us? You missed out on the last round, which was characterization, and now we're talking about special effects. So if you're there, come in, Brenda. Come in, Brenda.
I am here, and if you were looking at your chat box, you would know that I am here. I am sorry I fell asleep. I was very tired. Got up early, worked all day, didn't have a nap, and my mouth hurts because I had the most gruesome dental work ever this week, so that's my excuse. I did want to circle back to one comment about characters. It's like, what is it with these Russian women? I know Russia has some beautiful women. I've seen them. But the stereotype here is these are women that should be driving a tractor maybe. And it makes me think of that old Wendy's commercial, if you're old enough. It's in 1985. You can find it on YouTube. a commercial that was deemed offensive and probably get somebody canceled today of stereotype women fashion show, Russian women fashion show. They're all wearing the same frumpy dress, frumpy women, and they portray the same dress as evening wear and day wear, beach wear, and that's what these women made me think of. It's like, you know, get some lipstick or dress them up a little bit. It's just movies, American movies. There are always glamorous women around. They have to be on the spaceship for some reason, and there's always a love interest. So that's just my rather un-PC comment about characters. Special effects, what can I say? Well, they sure didn't get the science right, I'll say that. They apparently didn't do any research on how far apart the planets are. The little models they were using, they weren't very good. For 1960, it wasn't that bad compared to some other things we watched, but they were cartoonish to me. Gravity came and went. Who knows? They were huge inside. It was just totally unrealistic so far as space travel goes. Maybe they didn't, they were at the top of their game in 1960 for space travel. You'd think that they would have something a little more authentic than that. No, special effects just didn't do it for me. All right, that's where I stop. This is WB50ZL, back to net.
Okay, Brenda, well, okay, if you say so. That was pretty weak, but okay, next up is Tony, NT5TM. Tony, what did you think of the special effects? What did you like most about it? What captured your imagination? What inspired you to go out into space from the special effects to this film? So I know all these things must have happened to you. From KE5ICX.
Oh, that's an impossible challenge. I cannot meet it. If anything I ever saw in film or television inspired me to dream of space, it was, of course, Carl Sagan's Cosmos in the early 1980s. This movie did not contribute to that in any way. A couple of things I'd like to praise and pick on, sometimes simultaneously. Brenda is right about the frumpy way the women dressed, but I'd also like to stick up for that and say I was impressed. If you look at a lot of old, the yearbook of the 27th Collective Farm on the outskirts of blah Blahville, if you look at a lot of old communist publications, there wasn't a lot of clothing available for anybody. I mean, even the premiers of the Soviet Union typically wore lumpy, ill-fitting suits. So for the costume designers in this movie to procure even a single outfit, even if it was inappropriate for the circumstances, and they seem to always wear it all the time, as Brenda pointed out, for the female characters in this movie was actually an achievement. I mean, communist societies just never seem to produce decent clothes that actually fit. So if you could come up with even one set of those, you were really accomplishing something. This movie's most interesting characteristic with its effects is that it was so clearly a world in which no probe had ever approached Mars. This was the world before Mariner 9. This is the world probably before, it was the world before Mariner 2 even. They just didn't know what Mars looked like. They had these very blurry, soft paintings that showed canals and double canals, such as Percival Lowell might have imagined that he saw. And they depicted that beautifully with very high contrast images that people used to think existed in the outer world, ignoring millennia of micrometeorite bombardment that tends to make things kind of run down and hilly looking. So they tried hard in some areas. It's just that they were completely wrong. But still, with regard to all the matte paintings, not including the rubbery space monsters, which were stupid, with regards to the matte paintings, they tried hard, and I want to pat them on the back for that. And they actually found some clothes that fit their female characters, even if not enough, and they didn't fit the circumstances. That's communism for you. And the music, I guess it existed. Melodramatic. Nothing to say about it. Anyway, I thought they did well with the matte paintings. NT5 TF.
Kind of sounds jaded. They were doing their best with real models and practical effects and all these things. Okay, let's move on to Kane, K5ANE. Kane, your thoughts on special effects, the fantastic music, or something you missed on the previous round. Please give us your thoughts from KE5ICX.
So I'll go ahead and start with the annoying part, and that is the fact that they felt they needed to have these rubbery monsters duking it out in some terribly lit scenes, so you can't tell how obviously fake these monsters are. When it came to that scene that they added in, which is the U.S. only version of the movie, you know, gosh, it's so terrible and cheesy in 1950s, which this is a now effectively 1960 movie because they redid it a little bit, somewhat, kind of. You know, it seems so dated, even for the time period of the movie. But, of course, this is a college project movie, not really something super serious, I guess. So, you know, I guess we can just kind of ignore that. However, in the end, though, the other non-rubbery monsters duking it out scenes, I feel like they did a decent job, although, once again, they kind of just ignored a lot of the science. I at least appreciate that on the Don't Call Them Russians vessel, they had a lot of, you know, vegetation and things like that on the ship, which kind of gave you an idea on how would they have, you know, this ship, you know, make it to Mars and expect to be there for a little bit of time. Oh, like it's some kind of, you know, they're growing things, and it's, you know, this idea it's going to be, you know, sustainable going out there, whereas opposed to some of the science fiction movies you see during this time period where it's like super clean, kind of, you know, beep boop kind of interiors, and it, you know, it's like, wait, how is any of this going to actually work, especially since this movie is set in this kind of aggressive time frame of 1997. You know, where's all this technology? How are we expecting to feed these people once we get there? Well, they actually kind of address that, even though this whole transition of time period on the spaceships and things like that seems radically compressed and doesn't really make any sense. We don't really get any idea of how fast these things are going, how fast they're getting there. You know, in the end, it feels like literally this whole trip really took like an hour, and that there's no, you know, it didn't take weeks or months for the ship to actually traverse this. We don't even get that kind of impression based on how this story goes on. It's just like, oh yeah, we're gearing up, and here we go, and we're going to leave in the morning. Actually, never mind, we're going to leave right now. Oh gosh, they already left. I guess we better go too. Like, okay, and now they're encountering problems, and it's like, wait, was this like 5 minutes? Is this like 5 hours, 5 days? I have no idea. Anyways, this is K5A&E, back to net.
Very good. Thank you, Kane. And let's see. Yes, I agree. let's see. Let's see. I've been picking on Thomas, KI5JCM. Thomas, what's your favorite Russian science fiction movie? And I know there's a ton to pick from, but just name one, or I don't know, pick another science fiction movie and just say it's Russian.
Well, I think the best science fiction films from Russia are the ones that say communism could actually work. I mean, how could can't get much crazier than that. KI5 JCM back to net control.
Yeah, you got a point to that. There is a film, and I can't remember the name of it. I'll look it up while Sean is speaking, and I can't think of the name of it right now. But they actually made it into an American film, and I guess it was Solaris. That's what it is. I haven't looked it up, but it just came to me. It was a film done in the 60s in the Soviet Union called Solaris, and then they made an American version with George Clooney, I think it was. I'm going by memory here. I have not seen either one, but we could put it on the list, but I think it's a very long movie. I think it's like 2.5 hours long. I don't know if we could suffer that through 2.5 hours, but I'll go look it up and see. So yeah, that's one of those Soviet films. Okay, let's see here. Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, anything you want to talk about? Special effects, music, something you missed along the way? Go ahead from KE5I6.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, as a fan, when I was in my teens, I was very much enjoyed. I gained a like of B movies, and unfortunately, this one just didn't hold up even to those. And I definitely don't remember ever seeing this one. But yeah, the science, as everybody said, was just well, they didn't really get any of it correct, pretty much. But yet, you can't tell that they did put an effort into the set. You know, they did make some efforts in their models for that time. As I think as Tony said about the backdrops, you know, so they put some effort in. If they just put that much effort into the actual science, then this could have probably been maybe something if they'd left out the monsters. But yeah, I knew it was going to be bad when it started out, and the two scientists get into the rocket, and and it's all luxury, and they get in their seats, and they're not even wearing seat belts, and act like it's just a casual ride taking off in a rocket. So I knew he was in for something interesting there. And then, yeah, as I think Brenda said, the huge luxury space inside these rockets. But all these movies seem to get that wrong. I know they are probably doing it for effect. Maybe it makes it easier to film the movie. But I don't know why they all do that. Because, everybody knows that obviously you want to keep a rocket as light as possible, and you use every inch of that rocket for supplies and actual functioning things, and not just open space to lounge around in. So yeah, all these seem to do that. And then all these movies, probably from the 50s to the early 70s, they all had to have an oscilloscope. It did. They magically adjust the oscilloscope and it fixes whatever. You're totally ignoring the fact that it's actually a measuring device, not a control device. It's kind of interesting. But I started this movie. I thought, I bet there would be an oscilloscope, and sure enough, there was. But they did put a lot of effort into the models, even though they may not have been the greatest looking things. They probably looked much better back when this movie was made, because unfortunately when they do these enhancements for these old movies, and you're watching it on a high definition television, they look pretty. You can definitely see the flaws. And had you seen this on a small 19-inch black and white TV, you'd probably say, wow, this looks pretty good. Just try to be positive here. But, yeah, I think most of it's already been said. It's pretty bad science. I do think they did put an effort, but they just fell short, unfortunately. Back to net, KB9SOK.
Very good, thank you, Sean. And you've tried to make it as positive as you can under the circumstances. No problem there. All right, let's see here. Let's see, JJ, he may or may not still be there. Let me look. Oh, I don't see him on Echo length, but good night in 73. I think he's gone. JJ, you still there? Or did you go to bed? N5IMS from KE5ICX.
Yes, I'm actually on RF tonight. I had too much going on with my machine and stuff. But let's see. This is what? Music and special effects. And of course, reminding everybody I did not see the film, so this obviously had to come from a dream or what have you. But I really enjoyed the musical special effects, where when you had explosions, you didn't have a big boom. You had an organ crescendo, and things like that, and that really added to this movie. So it made it worthwhile just for the musical special effects. Now, if you believe that, I have a bridge that I can sell you as well. But hey, it's all I could come up with at short notice. This is N5IMS, back to net.
Well, thank you, JJ. I've got a secret for you. It doesn't matter whether you've seen the movie or not. All you have to do is, especially when you get to this part, you can say, well, the music really added a lot to the special effects. You don't have to know what the special effects were. You don't need to know what the movie was. You don't need to any of that. All you needed to just do is say that, because we don't know why you felt that way. We might think, that's an odd comment because there wasn't any music in the film or something like that. Which, by the way, happens. If you've ever watched Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, there is no music. None. Zero. Zip. There was no composer for that. I bet you never noticed. Take that. All right, next up is Romy, N8WWR. Romy, I know you didn't see the movie, but you're still in grapevine. What you got? What's your... Okay, let me ask you this. What movie had the crappiest special effects you've ever seen, if you're still there, from KE5ICX?
Well, I saw a movie that claims that Plan 9 from outer space was the crappiest one ever made, called Ed Wood. Does that work for you there, NAWWR? Thanks for running that, Tom. Appreciate you, man.
Oh, negative. That movie is always listed as the worst movie ever made. It's entertaining compared to... Just ask... Commander Crankor makes a wonderful presentation in that, and Bela Lugosi's 60 seconds that he's in the film, he's quite good as well. The worst movie, I think, is The Creeping Terror, which is a science fiction film. If you ever felt like gouging your eyes out for no apparent reason whatsoever, start on that movie and you'll find out why. I think it's been banned as considered as part of torture. Amnesty International has it on the top 5 torture things that should be banned internationally. Just keep that in mind. The Creeping Terror, and that was a co-worker years ago recommended that movie, and I agree with them wholeheartedly. It is the worst movie ever made. Okay, let's see here. We're at the bottom of the list. I'll go ahead and make my comments, and then I'll open it up to anybody or anything. Here it is. I thought that the special effects were cool. One of the things that, particularly for that time, I mean, the huge sets in that were interesting. Somebody had mentioned some of the things that drive you crazy, which are the giant consoles and the oscilloscope. Yeah, you got to have an oscilloscope because there was no other way to make something like that happen. Oscilloscopes are great for filling things up. Heck, they were showing up in movies even very, very late into the 70s, 80s, even into the 90s. There have been versions of it, and they're very easy to do because it uses deflection, as we all know, for television. That's easy to do without any programming. You already got a device that'll do it. One of the things that I liked, or what I found was quite interesting, is that they had the giant displays, the giant consoles everywhere, lots of space. I think Tony alluded to that too. It's big, huge space that they have to do things in. And of course, the spaceships were bigger on the inside than they were on the outside. The space station was bigger on the inside than on the outside. Stairwells going places. And by the way, just as an interesting note, we have artificial gravity. They've got the space station rotating. But then when they get on the spaceship, it has gravity anyway. It should be no gravity.
Elvis,
They just found that quite comical. Another thing, too, is that they got a lot of use out of those spacesuits. Man, every other second they were walking in space. Apparently when you have to go outside to smoke when you're on the space station because there's people walking around like they're, out in the park. I would think that would be dangerous and the radiation would be bad for you. But everybody went outside. Let's go watch the spaceships. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. Very bad, I thought.
W5FC.
So those are my thoughts. All in all, I didn't think it was all that bad of a movie. I thought the pacing was atrocious. Very, very slow. Oh, the music. I was going to mention the music. There is no music. There's 5 notes played over and over and over and over and over again through the entire movie. And the music was done, I think, by Francis Ford Coppola's girlfriend or wife at the time. It was a Coppola that did it. That's what first it suggested that a Coppola was involved, and then I saw his name in the credits shortly after that. Oh, my. Lucky us. All right, so those are my comments on that. I'll go ahead and open it up. Anybody have any comments, just come with your call sign and we'll go quickly down the list.
K5 Annie.
K5ANE, you got the last word, Kane, go ahead.
Atikavorosh Poroski, Ayane. K5 Annie.
Oh, the Russian spy stuff. Well, I'm sure. Oh, what's for next week? Is that what you're asking me?
My question was, do you speak Russian? And then I said also, I do not. K5 Annie.
You a very sneaky guy. Okay, you sounded so good when you said it. Boy, you sounded like a natural. All right, well, let me tell you what next week's movie is. Are you ready? You're going to love it. You can write this down. It's 6 letters. It's called Batman, B-A-T-M-A-N. And you're thinking, oh, great. It's a great film. It's not the one you're thinking of. It's no bloody A, B, C, or D. It's the original, well, maybe not the original Batman movie, but the original Batman movie from 1966 with Adam West and Burt Ward. That's next week's movie. It's available. I'll post in all the normal places. So we'll catch you then. This is KE5ICX, and I'm clear, and so are you. Bye-bye.